The group of cardinals who advise Pope Francis are meeting at the Vatican. They come together several times a year and are helping the Holy Father to reform the Roman Curia, the central government of the Church. This has been a priority for Pope Francis throughout his pontificate. Vatican Correspondent Juliet Linley joins us from Rome. Juliet, what do you expect the Pope will discuss with the cardinals?
Well, the sex abuse crisis is likely to be a top priority at the meeting, Lauren. In February, the Pope will convene a special World Summit on Abuse at the Vatican, so the Holy Father will likely want advice on how to handle it from his top advisors. Now, there's been controversy here because some of those advisors are embroiled in scandals relating to the crisis. About a month ago, Cardinal Javier Errázuriz of Chile resigned as a top advisor. His resignation comes as the Church in Chile continues to deal with the fallout from its abuse scandal. Cardinal George Pell, who sits in this council, is on his side awaiting a verdict in his trial over historical sex abuse in Australia. And the coordinator of the group, Cardinal Oscar Rodriguez Maradiaga of Honduras, is facing a crisis in his own archdiocese over allegations of homosexual misconduct in his seminary and financial impropriety. So members of the council are themselves dealing with the crisis firsthand, and they're facing accusations of their own.
I remember when I was in Rome with you, Juliet, and you asked the press secretary there about whether or not there would be a reshuffling, and we did not get an answer. Do you have any information on whether or not some of those members will be asked to leave?
Lauren, there could be some additional resignations and some new appointments. Many of the men are 75 or older. Now, that's the traditional age in the Church when bishops and cardinals retire. Cardinal Laurent Monsengwo Passigna just stepped down as Archbishop of Kinshasa, and so he could also step down from this council. More importantly, Lauren, Pope Francis could want to appoint new advisors who are not touched by the clergy sex abuse scandal.
When they met in June, Juliet, the Council presented Pope Francis with a proposal for implementing reform in the Roman Curia. Please tell us about that.
Well, that proposal is in a formal papal decree that's called an Apostolic Constitution, and it has the provisional title of Predicate Evangelium, or Preach the Gospel. Now, what it's likely to do is cement reforms and changes in the Curia that have already taken place. For instance, the streamlining of the offices in the Vatican that's occurred. Other areas it may touch on include financial transparency as it relates to the Vatican Bank. Now, the bank has been mired in scandals since the 90s, and last week, the Vatican city-state released its blueprint for reform with an emphasis on transparency and efficiency. Now, that could signal that the overall reform process is, in fact, drawing to a close.
Juliet Linley, EWTN News Nightly Vatican Correspondent. Thank you.
Thank you, Lauren.